and welcome to the Retirement Blueprint Show. My name is Cynthia DeFazio, and I'm joined today by my co-host, Tim Lofton. He is the creator of the Retirement Blueprint. Tim, how are you today?
Doing great, Cynthia.
It's so good to see you. I love being in the studio with you. I will say the new studio now, this is our third week in here together.
Yes.
It's wonderful.
The new set is very cool, for sure.
It's fantastic. So I have to ask you a question, obviously, because I know that you've been receiving so many phone calls that have been driven by the show, if you will. How busy has it been in the office for you lately?
It's pretty busy. You know, we make time for everyone that calls in, and so it's fun for us because people are coming in, the show's making an impact, and that was the whole idea of this, was to impact Dayton, to give people a place that they could come and spend some time with somebody that was going to truly listen to them and hear them, that had the expertise. And we built the Retirement Blueprint around, you know, the 5 cornerstones of retirement. And so having an income plan, an investment plan, a long-term care health care plan, an estate plan, and a tax plan. And the great thing is, Cynthia, as you know, in our office, we have an expert in each of those different areas. So people actually get to sit down across the table with a fiduciary that does tax planning. We have a estate planning attorney. We have a wealth management team. We have the financial planning aspect. And so there's no longer the having to find all these different players out there to make up a team. You can actually come to one place and have a team of people all working towards your goals.
I love that. I love that because it makes it easy. It's one-stop shopping, if you will.
It is.
Yeah.
And there's 2 takeaways from that, Cynthia. You know, one is that you have everybody that's talking, and that's the lack of communication that we typically see with people that have a plan, but they have an estate planning attorney that's not talking to the CPA, and the CPA is not talking to the wealth management team, and the financial planner doesn't know what's going on because he's not talking to any of those people. And so there's a lack of communication, which means that your plan never reaches its potential. And then there's the cost aspect. You're paying all these separate people, but nobody's talking, versus paying less and having everybody under one roof. And so it really is a powerful combination. And when you put all that team in one spot, you're going to have success. You're going to have success with your plan.
Sure, absolutely. I love that, Tim. Well, I want to talk to you a little bit in this segment, if we could, about inflation, because obviously this is the hot topic right now. People are seeing the prices raising anywhere from the gas station to the grocery store, if you will. So how does that impact retirees, Tim?
Well, you know, the key to understanding inflation is that inflation is a slow erosion. Now, not as slow as the Grand Canyon, but it's a slow erosion. You don't, you know, from 2021 to 2022, yes, people have noticed gas prices and you know, some of the things that are obvious, but that's not really how inflation works. Inflation works in a way that if you need $50,000 a year to retire, and 20 years from now, you're going to need $100,000 a year to pay for the equivalency of $50,000 a year today. That doesn't happen overnight. What happens is that you just wake up one day and you're like, oh my gosh, my dollar's not going as fast as it used to. So we lose purchasing power. And a lot of times for retirees, their incomes are fixed. They may have a cost of living adjustment, that COLA. You know, we have that with Social Security, for example. Historically, it's averaged about 1.8% on the increase. Last year, we had the largest cost of living adjustment in Social Security history. So that's fantastic. But for the most part, it grows at about 1.8%. Most pensions have a cost of living adjustment at about that same rate. Some do not have any at all. The problem is that inflation grows at about 3%. So we're literally losing about 1.2% every single year, which again, doesn't sound like a big deal until you stretch it out for a retired couple that's 60 years old and one of them is going to make it to 94. That's almost 35 years in retirement. And so inflation has a huge impact. Healthcare costs have grown closer to 5% a year. Things like nursing homes and things of that nature, we have seen a much faster growth rate with inflation, which means that when we're doing our planning today at 60, at 65, we've really got to be doing those calculations 20 or 30 years from now to understand what those costs are going to be, and more importantly, putting a plan together that's going to get us there.
Absolutely, that makes perfect sense. I know a lot of people have so many questions about planning properly for inflation, Tim, because obviously without having a plan in place, that can erode someone's current trajectory, if you will, for retirement. Am I right?
It is. I mean, it's probably one of the least planned for things in retirement because, again, it's a slow erosion. And so no one is really looking at what am I going to do when milk goes from $2 a gallon to $4 a gallon. Right. It goes from $2 to $2.11. Yeah. And they're like, it's 11 cents. It's not a big deal. But understand year over year over year, it adds up. And so if you don't have a plan in place to grow your income, that's where things are going to fall short. And again, as we've talked about in previous episodes, when you start running out of money at the end, you're not going back to work. Yeah. You know, you're not going back to work at 80, at 85. And so if you haven't pre-planned for that before you get there, that's really going to create a huge problem in retirement. And we've seen that in our country, where we have elderly that are, you know, nearing poverty level because of lack of planning.
Yeah, absolutely. Tim, I want to ask you before we go to the commercial break, how long does it take you to design a retirement blueprint for your clients that come in?
Well, that's a great question. So when somebody comes into our office, our first meeting with them is a discovery meeting. And, you know, I tell people this all the time. This is not something to be afraid of. This is something to be excited about. You're getting to sit down and have somebody listen to you. I ask questions, you give me answers. And you know the answers to the questions that I ask. And if you don't, I send you home with a little bit of homework. But the idea is that we spend about an hour together using a process that we've been using for almost 30 years, and we discover and uncover each of the different areas of the retirement blueprint. Then from our side, our team goes to work in putting together a plan. Now, this is a 30,000-foot view, Cynthia. It's not a here's what you should do and here's, you know, the keys to the kingdom, but it's to give people an idea of some of the things that they need to be thinking about, some of the questions that they need to find answers for, pointing out things that a lot of times are further in the future that maybe they haven't really gone to that length to think through. Things, you know, when we look at retirement, most people think of retirement in stages of 62 to 65, I get Social Security, and then at age 72, I have to take my required minimum distribution out of my IRAs that the IRS makes me, and then end. And they don't think past that. Yeah. And then, of course, guys all think they're going to die like, you know, any day now. So they're not worried about, you know, when we say, talk about age 90, they're like, well, I'll be dead then. Well, okay, but your spouse may not be. And the actuary will say that one of you is going to make it to 94. So that money's going to 94. It has to last till 94, assuming that the medical community doesn't get any better at making people live longer, which they clearly have over the last 50 years. Mm-hmm. So there's a lot of things that, you know, go into the idea of putting a plan together. As far as our timeline, it really depends on the person and it depends on the plan. You know, it can take as little as an hour, and we've had cases that take a few hours to kind of put those rough drafts together. Once we get that rough draft, when somebody actually becomes a client, that's really when the work starts, where we start actually taking it from that 30,000-foot view to ground level. We put everything in place, we get in the weeds on things, we start having that meeting with our estate planning attorney to make sure that their estate planning documents are up to date. We have a meeting with our tax planner to make sure that they're making all the right decisions on in minimizing taxes or maximizing their potential for long-term tax savings, which isn't necessarily short-term tax savings. Okay. Sometimes you have to pay more taxes today to save a lot of taxes in the future. Sure. You know, those are all the different components. We get people to a starting line so we can do life together with them.
I love that. Well, Tim, this is the perfect time for a commercial break. Would you agree?
Yes.
All right. To the viewers at home, the phone number to call is on your screen. That number is 855-684-3485. What Tim is offering you today is the opportunity to come in to sit down with him. Let him get to know you and what your goals and your dreams are for retirement. He is here to listen to you. If you want to have your own retirement blueprint crafted by Tim, all you have to do is call today. 855-684-3485. We have to take a very short commercial break, but when we come back, I'm going to talk to Tim about taxes, so please stay tuned.
Hello, Dayton. This is Tim Lofton from Dayton's premier financial show, The Retirement Blueprint. If you are on the cusp of retirement or recently retired, please tune in every Sunday at 10 a.m. after Meet the Press on NBC Channel 2 as we discover how to plan and thrive in retirement. See you on Sunday, Dayton. Unexpected events, like a global pandemic, can turn our world upside down overnight. They can cause volatile shifts that may cause you to question the confidence in your current retirement plan. As a retiree or a pre-retiree, knowing you have a plan that can withstand the worst economic conditions is vital. Contact us today for a complimentary review. Get a second opinion and learn more about our trademark process, the Retirement Blueprint. Let us plan your tomorrow today.
Welcome back to the Retirement Blueprint Show. My name is Cynthia DeFazio. I'm joined today by my co-host Tim Lofton. He is the creator of the Retirement Blueprint. Tim, an excellent show that we're having today, talking about the importance of planning for retirement. We talked about inflation, of course, in the first segment. In this segment, I'd like to talk to you a little bit about taxes because, wow, that's another hot topic that people are very concerned with today.
They are, and they should be, Cynthia. Taxes are the largest bill that somebody's going to have in retirement. And a lot of times people guess healthcare, and healthcare is certainly up there. But taxes are the biggest expense, and the reason is that most people have done what they were told to do, and they saved all this money in IRAs and 401ks, 403bs, their TSP, their, all these different programs are pre-tax dollars, and they grow tax deferred, which is awesome until you take the money out.
Sure.
And then what happens?
You're taxed.
You're taxed. And so because we almost get lulled into a sense of comfort level. We look at our IRA statement, our 401k statement, and we're like, oh my gosh, I got $1 million in my 401k, I'm in good shape. But they're looking at that through the wrong lens, because if you look at that through the tax lens, that $1 million is really $700,000, right? I mean, that's what the number is. If you took the money out, that's what you would get, estimated, right? And so we also think about it from an income standpoint. I have $1 million, it'll give me $40,000 a year of income forever, but it's not $40,000, right? Because I don't have $1 million, I have $700,000. Right. It's really $28,000 net. And so as people approach retirement, there's that sense of comfort that is sometimes misplaced. On top of that, from a planning standpoint, we're trying to play by rules of a game that we don't even know what the rules are, because the rules are always changing. New administration, new tax rules. And so we're 4 years away from things going away, and we had that happen in the last couple of years. You remember, we've talked about stretch IRAs on the show before, and how you could pass on your IRA to your kids, and they could take lifetime income from it and continue to grow it, and it could almost become like a multi-generational planning tool. And literally, January happened of 2021, and it just went away. They just took it away. And so they raised the age of required minimum distribution from 70.5 to 72, which is good. And then they took away the stretch IRA option and told people you have 10 years to totally liquidate your IRA. Now that planning is something I've been doing since the mid-1990s. And so you have to have flexibility as a planner to make sure that you're keeping up with the changes, and then being able to take a look at, okay, we can't do this anymore, so now what's the new solution to make our plans still work in the most tax efficient way possible? So when it comes to tax planning, there's so many different aspects. You know, where do I take income from in retirement? What's the most tax efficient? You'll hear a lot about Roth IRA conversions, and we have people call the office and say, should I convert to a Roth IRA? And we don't even know them. I mean, understand from our side, that's like going to the doctor and saying, should I take blue pills? And the doctor's like, well, what's wrong with you? And it's like, well, it doesn't really matter. I mean, the blue pill, I saw an advertisement about it's supposed to be really good.
Yeah.
So maybe I should take that.
Yeah.
You have to understand where people are from a planning standpoint to be able to offer that kind of advice.
Sure. That makes sense. Let's talk a little bit about people that are thinking about their future with retirement, Tim, but they're not factoring in tax planning. Maybe they're looking at more tax preparation. Where does the difference lie between tax preparation and tax planning? That's
a great question. So I have a slide that shows this goldfish jumping from one bowl to the other, and it says, tax planning is not tax preparation. Tax preparation is what everybody does in January and February at the beginning of every year. You get all your stuff together, you take it to your CPA or whoever does your taxes, maybe you have TurboTax, and you do your taxes. That's tax preparation. Tax planning is a completely different thing. Tax planning is taking a look at, your situation today and looking at it from the lens of, all right, I'm 65 years old, and at 72, I'm going to have to take out X amount of dollars in a required minimum distribution. And you look at that number, and you're like, okay, well, that number's fine. And we had clients that look at that number, and that's the exact amount of money that they need to supplement their Social Security and their pension programs. So it's perfect for them, right? The problem is that I always ask them, well, what does that required minimum distribution look like at age 90? And they're like, we've talked about this. The guy says, well, I'm not going to be here. I say, okay, well, your spouse is going to be. What's the required minimum distribution look like at that time? Yeah. Because required minimum distribution is built on a pension platform, right? It goes like this. The government has it based on you taking out more money every year as you get older, so that a majority of it is out by the end. And a lot of people don't understand that. The thing is we know the rules. You can Google, we just talked about that the last 2 weeks, right? You can Google it and actually see what your required minimum distribution is going to be. You put in the December value, put in your age, you can run it all the way out to age 100 and see exactly what it's going to be. What happens is that as we get older, that number goes up a lot. And so what that $50,000 withdrawal at age 72 may be perfect, may be $350,000 a year down the road. We can fix that. Yeah. And that's one of the areas where, our tax planning team will sit down with somebody and do a calculation, and if a Roth IRA conversion or a spin down makes sense, they'll be able to come up with that answer.
Okay, perfect. Well, Tim, we're about ready to take another commercial break. Any words of wisdom that you want to give the audience before we go ahead and go to commercial?
Sure. Dayton, if you have not done tax planning, if all you have done is tax preparation, this is something worth checking out. Come sit down. Sit down with us. Let us take a look at what you're doing. We can run through what the government rules are. You have a choice. You can either go with their plan or you can go with your plan. I will tell you your plan is always going to be better. Come and meet with us. Give us a call, 855-684-3485. Schedule a complimentary review. Let us take a look at your tax situation and see if we can help.
Tim, thank you so much. To the viewers at home, the phone number to call is on your screen. That number is 855-684-3485. We're going to take a very short commercial break, but when we come back, we're going to talk about the difference between retirement today versus years ago. Stay tuned.
Hi, I'm Tim Lofton, and for 27 years, we've been helping people just like you navigate to and through retirement with our trademark process, the Retirement Blueprint. Many of our clients are extremely concerned today with the increasing federal debt and the potential for a significant increase in taxes. If you share these or other retirement concerns, give us a call today for a no obligation complimentary consultation. Let us plan your tomorrow today. Retirement is about choosing where you want to go and mapping out a plan to get there. That's why I created the Retirement Blueprint. Of course, things don't always go according to plan. Come learn how our team can help you avoid potential hazards and find alternate routes. We're here to do life with you and share your journey. Let us blueprint your life to keep you on track to make sure you get the most out of retirement. Are you on the road to success? Call us today for a complimentary review to find out. Let us plan your tomorrow today.
And welcome back to the Retirement Blueprint Show. My name is Cynthia DeFazio, and I'm joined today by Tim Lofton. He is the founder of the Retirement Blueprint. Tim, a wonderful show that we're having today, obviously talking about such amazing topics, all circling around retirement. We covered inflation. We covered taxes, tax planning, tax preparation, if you will. I also want to talk to you a little bit about retirement today versus retirement years ago. How has it changed?
Well, it's changed a lot. If you look at retirement in the way that it used to be for our parents, for our grandparents, you'll see that it was very simple. You went to work for a company, you worked there 30 years, and when you retired, everything was figured out for you. You didn't have to make investment decisions. You didn't have to choose how your dollars were allocated. You knew that if you did 30 years, you were going to get lifetime income, and you knew exactly what it was going to look like. And those times have changed. In fact, they changed in a very drastic manner. It was as though they just put a hard stop and said, we're not doing that anymore. There's a lot of reasons as to why. I mean, we've talked about in past shows about General Motors that, General Motors isn't really in the cars and trucks business. They're in the benefits business. That, for the first 9 or 10 months of the year, everything they make selling cars and trucks goes to pay retirees and benefits.
Okay.
They only make money selling cars and trucks for like 2 or 3 months a year. And a lot of times people don't think about that. And so that cost structure of a defined benefit plan of you work here for 30 years and you're going to get $3,000 of income and a pension for life, and we're going to pay for all your health care, is a very expensive proposition. In fact, it was one that really got to a point where it was just not possible.
Yeah.
And so then came in the idea of a 401k plan and all the other letters and numbers. For the viewers at home, if you don't know 401k, 403b, 457, they're IRS codes. I mean, if you go in and look, it's like 401.k. They're not original with the ideas of what they call these things. And so the idea was that, you're in charge now. So our grandparents didn't have to make any decisions. We have to make all the decisions.
Right.
And there's no guarantee.
Wow.
And so the idea here is that we have to figure out how much we need to save, what we're going to invest it in, how long we have to save it for, when our retirement's going to be. We have to calculate, once we've done all that and we get to this future number, what income that's going to provide, and is that enough? I mean, it is, for somebody without a background in this, the idea that we're somehow in charge is crazy.
That's overwhelming.
It really is. And that's why, for us, we created the Retirement Blueprint for that idea, to give people a roadmap, a blueprint to exactly what they need to do, how they need to do it to get to where they want to go, and then make sure that it works.
Absolutely. So Tim, if you're going into the retirement years and you don't have a plan in place for retirement, how detrimental is that to your success as a retiree?
Well, I mean, you're playing the lottery.
Yeah.
You really are. I mean, you're putting yourself in a position where you might be right, it might work, but you're also putting yourself in a position that if it doesn't work, what are you going to do about it? Because you're not going to go back to work.
Right.
You're not going to wake up one day at 85 and be like, uh-oh, I messed up and I'm out of income, and so I'm going to go work at Walmart. I mean, that's not a thing.
Yeah.
And so the planning has to happen now.
Sure.
The planning has to happen. If you're 55, 60, 65, 70, Now's the time to start thinking about, what does the next 20 years look like? What's the next 30 years look like? How am I going to navigate to and through retirement safely? What does my plan require me to do? What planning do I need to put in place to make sure that I'm successful for me, for my spouse, and for my family?
Absolutely. And Tim, I should also ask you, of course, because if someone is coming in with their statements, let's say they have the 401k, do you do a portfolio x-ray to see how they're looking and if they're taking too much risk?
Yeah, so we have a wealth management team that's one of the main functions that they do is risk analysis. They use a program called Riskalyze. It won the Nobel Prize for Economics. It's a really cool program. I get to be the recipient, along with our clients coming in, of that work and see what they've done. And it's a risk assessment so that people understand where they are in the risk spectrum. And as I'm sure you're aware, people a lot of times think they're taking more risk than they actually are, or a lot less risk than they actually are. They're very rarely accurate on where they think things stand.
Yeah.
And the value of that Riskalyze is it actually gives people a glimpse of their portfolio in 2008 when things were really bad. It's 2013 when things are good. They can see what rising interest rates would do to the portfolio. And it gives our wealth management team the ability to then pivot, because it's no good for our team to give them advice if they don't know what they're changing from.
Yeah.
So it really gives them that full picture to allow them to better understand where they are and then where they really need to go.
Okay. Thank you so much, Tim. I know we only have about a minute left of the show this week. Any final words of wisdom and advice you want to impart to the viewers at home?
Dayton, this is your retirement. You're getting to choose this. Choose wisely. Find somebody to partner with. Come talk to us. Give us the opportunity to hear your story, because we really want to hear it. We're genuinely interested. Where are you going? How are you going to get there? In allowing us the opportunity to share our expertise, the expertise of an estate planning attorney, a tax planner, a financial planner, people that have been doing this for the last 20 to 30 years, sitting around the table, listening to you, helping you get the most out of your retirement for you and for your family. You deserve this. Give us a call, 855-684-3485. We can't wait to meet you.
Tim, thank you so much for another amazing show this week. To the viewers at home, most specifically, thank you for spending time with us. That number to call is 855-684-3485. We know you have a lot of questions for Tim about how to design your retirement blueprint. He has the answers for you. Again, 855-684-3485. Take care now.